Hello, Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos, and you're watching Spotlight Georgetown. You can find us Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. You can find us at other times, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, but those are our set times. This is part of your cable TV. If you would like to come and join us on the hot seat, let me know. I'm always looking for guests. That's the hardest thing to do in this job. I'm always looking for guests, but if you'd like to come and learn how to run a camera or do some editing or work behind the scenes, we'd love to have you. They're always looking for people to volunteer. It's a nice volunteer job for retired people. So it'll be fun with all the computers and everything. Now, today we're talking to Barbara Hopkinson, and she's the chapter founder and leader for the Compassionate Friends. Now, what is the first, where are you from?
I live on Plum Island, very close here, and I grew up here, went to college in New Jersey, and then fought my way back because it's such a great area.
Plum Island on the side that's falling into the ocean or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, but not very close.
Okay.
Thank goodness. I'm okay.
We don't want to lose you yet.
No.
Compassionate Friends of Greater Newburyport. Now, it's 10 years old now. What is it?
It is a local chapter of an international organization that supports family after the death of a child. So I founded that chapter 10 years ago, a year after my older son passed away. I've lost three children, Brent, who is 21, in a motorcycle accident, Robbie in a stillbirth and a miscarriage. So after Brent passed away, I instinctively knew that reaching out to help others would help me heal. So I founded that chapter and still lead it 10 years later.
Now, it's in Newburyport. Where does it meet and how often?
Yeah, it meets on the fourth Monday of the month at the Immaculate Conception Parish Center in room 209 at 7:15. That's non-denominational, but that's just they're kind enough to let us use their space. So
anyone that has lost a child can come in and see what you're about.
Parents, grandparents, siblings, it's, anybody, family that just needs to get together and talk with others that have had similar experiences. Yes.
Now, how does losing a child, those personal losses, add another layer of depth to your life and what you're doing, speaking to these people in groups? And
yeah, it's of course, I think, the most devastating thing that a parent can endure. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, or grandparent or sibling, and it's very difficult to recover from. But when you can reach out and be with others that have gone through that, not only do you learn from them, but you see that other people have survived it and are thriving again. And that's really my mission in life now, is to help others find hope and happiness again after that devastation, because it totally rocks your world. So helping see others and talking about it and getting ideas from each other about how to heal, especially focus in on holistic healing and some spiritual discussions and things like that, but ways to help people kind of get through it one day at a time. And sometimes we help each other get through the holidays or have ideas about rituals for birthdays and anniversaries and things like that.
Now,
Brent was 21.
Robbie
was stillborn.
He was stillborn.
Yeah.
Now, how different is it losing either a miscarriage or a stillborn from a 21-year-old boy?
Yeah, it is different, but I do want to make it clear that the loss of an infant or even a miscarriage is still a big loss. And especially so if you already have children and you understand that very special bond with children. So sometimes people don't treat it like a real death,
right,
but they really should, because that's how it feels to the parents and to the family. And of course, my older son, it was a deeper, more profound loss, because I had him for 21 years. He had a very strong personality, and he was on his way to being an Army pilot. We had done many things together and traveled together and had tons of experiences. So having someone drop out of your life after all that time, is even more devastating. But it's a loss. It's definitely a loss either way.
Now, you have a book.
Yes, it's called The Butterfly's Journey, Healing Grief After the Loss of a Child. And that's one of the steps in how I'm expanding from my local chapter, which is where people can drive to me, because really anybody drivable to Newburyport is welcome. But the book allows me to extend that and what I learned. So part one talks about a bit about my experience, especially with Brent, with the older one. But the second part of the book really is what I learned in my spiritual journey and what I learned over the 10 years since he died. And, you know, kind of giving people hope about ways they can, tips that they can use to recover, but also the spiritual journey and how I really have come to believe that our children and all of our spirits continue, and that I really do have a continued relationship with him. I can't touch him and feel him in my, you know, with my eyes and ears, but I can do so with my intuition and my feelings. And so I hope to give people hope and some tips about how I recovered and gained happiness again.
Now you also have a website.
Yes, a butterfliesjourney.com.
And you have tips on that.
Yes,
you have a tip page.
Yes, I do. There is
tip sheet.
There's info about the book and testimonials and things like that. But there's also I do a weekly blog, and there's under the media and gallery there are articles, press articles, and press coverage, and there's a press kit. And in the press kit there are tips for bereaved parents and actually tips for organizations in their treatment of parents and families, bereaved families, because I'm trying to also raise awareness about how it's different from a loss of, say, an elderly parent, or, you know, and how the hospitals and people treat them, you know.
No one should bury children.
No one. And your children are not supposed to predecease you.
Right.
So it totally shocks you. I mean, it shocks you cognitively. You can't read or listen to music or function normally for quite a while.
Now, if an older person dies, a parent or grandparent, that's expected at some point.
It's still very sad.
It's very sad.
And it still can be a shock.
Takes a long time.
But it's kind of the natural order of things. Mm-hmm. But, you know, as a parent, you're totally programmed your whole life to protect your children. So when you can't any longer, it's just such a devastating thing. That's why it's so comforting to find when you can get the faith and the belief, and I've had many signs from my son that they do continue. It lifts quite a burden from you, because, again, at least then you know they're okay.
Now, what kind of tips would be on this blog or on this page?
You know, I talk about the different stages of grief, and not just from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's point of view, but from some of the others that have added to that lately, and how it related to what I went through. I talk about things like the value of ritual, you know, in grief. I'm starting to get into a lot of the holistic approaches like journaling and meditation and exercise and nutrition, and how really that affects the healing of grief as well.
Taking care of yourself. Helps take care of your mind.
It's very important to take care of yourself. Not only that, but if you have other children in the family, you need to take care of yourself
to take care of them
in order to be of better comfort and use to them.
Or a spouse.
Yes, and to be open to new things. So things like energy healing possibly, or meditation or acupuncture, or just things that you might traditionally not have been involved with. If you're open to that kind of thing, you'll be surprised at how much it can help you. And then just trusting your intuition, because a lot of times people have opinions, very strong opinions about how long it should take you to get over your grief. Yeah. Don't listen to any of it. Yeah. Totally trust your gut. Everybody grieves.
It's been a month already. What do you think?
Right. Oh, it's awful. Yeah, I mean, you just don't get over something like this very easily. Yeah. So you really should trust your gut, trust your intuition about what's right for you, what approach is best, and how long it should take. And nobody else can decide that for you. And your family members, by the way, will grieve very differently. And you need to be very tolerant of each other.
Now, why do you think this message has touched so many people?
Well, everyone either has, you know, some sort of loss in their lives, but even if your family, thank God, has not lost a child, usually you know someone who has. And the statistics from the Compassionate Friends say that in this country, we expect over the course of a year to lose about 100,000 children between
oh my gosh.
Infants, teenagers, and young adults, and then another 25,000 babies that are stillborn, and even more shockingly, another 600,000 early pregnancies that are lost for whatever reason. So it really is a much bigger number than we think, and you know, we don't talk about it, but we need to talk about it, because the people that are going through it need to have it acknowledged, and they need to be cared for.
And a lot of times, if there's a loss like that, the parent gets avoided almost because you don't know what to say to them.
Yes, that happens a lot. And honestly, I have so many bereaved parents come and tell me when they're in the supermarket, everybody's great and very supportive through the wake and the funeral. But the worst time is when everybody leaves, because that's when it's like your body gives you a certain kind of numbness to get you through those tasks that you need. And after that, when the numbness wears off and the reality sets in and everybody's gone, that's the worst time. And they still need somebody to talk to and to listen to them. And people are afraid that they're going to hurt them or bring it up.
I don't want to say the name because it might bother you.
No, and just the opposite. It's like right in your face. They can't bring it any closer to you than it already is. So it's much more comforting for you to go up to than just say, I'm sorry, mention their child's name. Is there anything I can do? And then just listen for a little while, because they need somebody to talk to. And very often people don't want to talk about it, so it's hard for them to find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. And that's
even in the grocery store.
Even in the grocery store, right? So yeah, and I am. You may mention it later, but I am launching a program as well to help on a more individual basis.
Well, why don't we talk about that now?
Okay. I'm launching a program, a virtual support program called Return to Life. And the reason, now all the support groups, and that's great, and I can help people find where are the best organizations between the Compassionate Friends or even Miss Foundation or Bereaved Parents of the USA, and there are chapters all over the country. But sometimes people need to deal with this on a more individual basis. And it might be because it makes them sad to hear other people's stories. It might be because they're embarrassed for some reason about the way their child died, if there was substance abuse or unusual circumstances. Or it might just be that they're very private people and they don't want to be in groups. So I'm offering an option for people to be able to, that I can deal with and help them individually and tailor approaches that they might take based on their own preferences, and then give them an option to do a group but over the phone. So everything phone and internet, so they don't have to be able to drive to me. And I'm offering a 30-minute free consultation to help them get started.
And that's something that might work for people that aren't ready to see other people yet.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Right. So they can go to my website at butterfliesjourney.com, or they can email me at barbara@butterfliesjourney.com, or even call it. I think it's 617-410-6309.
Now, how do you guide a family moving from such a deep grief to hope and love?
Yeah, the first thing is really understanding what the situation is and where they are, both in the process and emotionally, and doing a lot of listening, right? And then basically suggesting different things that they might try, and certainly, and again, I kind of hover on the holistic side rather than meds, but meds are fine short term, but you don't want to get hooked on them for years and years and years, and I've seen that happen to people, and it's a shame. But I also want to encourage them to really focus on the positive aspects of the gift that their child was to them, not just the loss, because that's when you have a turning point in your healing, when you realize that, and just all the love you had with them. And not only that, I believe in energy and vibration levels, and if you're so mired in the grief, it prevents you from healing. It's like a tether for your child, worrying about you like an elderly sick parent. So little by little, if you can focus on what a gift they were, not just the loss, then over time you will heal a little more quickly.
Now, you're also a speaker, helping families
Yes.
heal. What type of places do you speak or will speak?
Yes, I'm in the process right now. I'm doing several kind of radio and TV interviews. I've spoken at some like women's bereavement groups. I've started to work with hospitals like Boston Medical Center, and in talking with their bereavement committee and their social workers to help them understand kind of the differences of the loss of a child versus the loss of, say, an elderly person, and how they might be able to improve some of their services.
So
and
that's at the Boston hospitals.
Yes, so far that's what I'm starting to. I'm obviously looking into some local hospitals as well, but that's where I kind of got started, was with Boston. But and then I'm I was just on Uncommon Ground. That is coming up as well, a Boston radio station. But there's, I've actually done some speaking at Brooksby and Atria and some senior living places as well. And that was a different turn than I expected it to take. But what I do is I focus on the last part of the book really talks about, it's all about the love. And we focus on the love and the hope and kind of the positive aspects. You know, it sounds funny to say there's positive aspects, but you can, when you think about things like this and spirituality and, you know, and the love side of this, there are positive aspects. So we focus on a lot of that to help folks that in those places that not only have lost potentially children and grandchildren, but are thinking about their own mortality.
Oh, yeah. Why do you believe your son Spirit is still here with us, with you?
Yes. You know, I was a skeptic at first because my background is the corporate world. I worked 10 years for IBM and in software companies and didn't really give it a thought until, not a lot of thought anyway. I think most major religions in the world believe in an afterlife, but I didn't give it a lot of thought until I lost children and I was so desperate to find out if they were okay. And as I went through more and more of research and reading, and eventually went to mediums that actually people referred me to. And I would always recommend that people only go to people that they're referred to because there are a lot of fakes out there. I started to get kind of in phases. I went through a validation phase where they would actually tell me things about him that they had no way of knowing. And I started to, you know, slowly I started to believe that he really would continue. And then the second phase, over time, as I was trying to improve my own capabilities and my own intuition, is that it became almost conversational, especially with the help of somebody, you know, who could. And to me, I believe that's just it's a skill they have. Like some people are artists and some people are very talented in different ways. They have that skill. But I've also gotten signs, and my next book is going to be about that and all the parents that I talk to and a lot of the signs that I get. So if I give you an example, 6 months after he passed, a friend of mine who's not a medium, she just has some capabilities herself as well as her father and grandmother did. And she described to me, he would come to her like in a meditation, and she described to me, for instance, the flowers that he gave me for Mother's Day that year specifically. But then she described an item that I put in his casket right before we closed it that I never told anyone about. And she didn't know what she was describing. It was an odd-looking lanyard keychain from his college. And I knew immediately what it was. And I almost fell off my chair when she described it. And then later on, as the years progressed, and I have this original music that a friend of mine also, another friend of mine, who again, these are not people I'm paying, these are people that I really trust. And she was able to not only channel music from him, but then start getting some messages. And she'd send me messages like, I moved into a summer place. She had never been there. And I got a text from her. I took a walk, and I'm coming back, and I got a text from her that said, Brent says to be careful walking up your front steps, Mom. I said, okay. I get back to the house, and the entire step was cracked, the whole length of the wooden step. So if I had put my weight on the outside of it, I would have gone flying. She had never been to the place. So I could go on.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots. But that's why.
And the butterfly, what does the butterfly represent?
Oh, the butterfly, yeah. That's actually a picture of an actual butterfly that I took 11 years ago that showed up on my deck about a month after my son died.
Butterflies are common.
The butterflies are common, and this is a monarch, which are common, but butterfly is a symbol of transition.
No, I mean it's common for that to happen after a death.
Oh, yes.
People will see specific butterflies.
Yes, yes.
Or dragonflies.
Yes, right. Those seem to be the two things.
Asian beliefs are very much so for butterflies and dragonflies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
After the death of a relative or a friend.
And you know, there's such a symbol of transition because they go from the caterpillar into the pupa and then emerge in this amazing transformation. So I think of that as, you know, we go through big transformations after the loss of a child. Our transformation to a life without the child and our children's transformation into a spiritual life. And I think a butterfly is very significant and representative of that.
I did one of the 24-hour type cancer walks over at Northern Essex.
Oh, good for
and
you.
they had a butterfly release.
Yes.
Every butterfly was in a little paper, and you opened
Yes.
it up, and
Yes.
they had timed it. So you opened it up, and it was a brand new live butterfly.
Yes.
It was just amazing.
Yes, we did that for our 10th anniversary of our chapter. We did butterfly release, and then we released a few balloons with messages as well. And we did a butterfly release at Atria, the senior level. The actual event was a butterfly release and remembrance event. But yeah, no, I love that. I did a live butterfly release at my wedding.
Oh, okay.
My second wedding.
I've actually heard of that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Do you have any parting words for people dealing with the death of a child?
Oh, yes. Really just take it one day at a time. Know that it's going to take time to heal, but be tolerant of those around you, and especially tolerant of yourself. And really remember to focus on the love and the gift that your child was to you, even more than the loss. And eventually that will become the more dominant part, and you will heal. You will survive it, you will heal, and you will come to a new normal. But it takes some work and some time, and I hope I can help you through my book and through my virtual support program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. To have you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Beverly Enos. This is Spotlight Georgetown. Don't forget, there is help out there for you. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.